Do you have some earbuds at all?
Would you prefer that? I can get them.
Yes, that would be
Well,
great.
yeah. As long as you mute, you'll be fine. But we are live now, so
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Fabiani Duarte, Chair of the ABA Law Student Division, coming to you from Atlanta, and we have everyone from the Seventh Circuit, our circuit governor candidates, here on the line for a Google Hangout online Q&A. Today's format will be me introducing who we have on the panel, and then I will go into questions after allowing the candidates to make some opening statements. After they've made those statements and I've made my questions, anyone in the that is watching this in the webosphere is welcome to provide any questions, and we will be sure to share those with our candidates here on board. We're joined here by our director of the division, Austin Greathouse, at the Chicago headquarters, and I'll let each of our candidates introduce themselves. So why don't we begin with Monique? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Monique Altman, and I attend the John Marshall Law School as a 2L2 in Chicago, Illinois. My experience with the ABA has been somewhat limited to joining when I did last year as a 1L, but I'm excited to learn more about the ABA, and I'm excited about the prospect of being an advocate for students within the circuit, the Seventh Circuit. It is important to me that not only to be a member of the ABA, the Law Student Division, but to have an understanding of what's important, what proposals are out on the table, what's new, and what's going on in the legal community, not just as a student, but also as someone who will be an attorney someday. My background is a little different. I'm a non-traditional student. I worked at the CDC before I attended law school. So I have a great deal of past work experience that I believe brings with me the ability to collaborate and work well with others, to be a listener as a leader, as well as a leader who can step forth and bring the ABA and the constituency and the students of the Seventh Circuit together. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. I appreciate it. All right, and now I'll invite Sandra to make your opening statement.
Thank you very much, Fabi. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandy Gallant Jones, and I am a 2L attending Northern Illinois University College of Law in DeKalb, Illinois. And like Monique, I am a non-traditional student returning back to law school after having a previous career. Before starting law school, I worked for 15 years in broadcast television, working as a reporter, as an anchor, as a producer, and even as a meteorologist. So why go to law school? Why pursue the law? Well, for me, the law is a very noble profession. It is a really significant calling in one's life. And for me, I had a lot of regret in not pursuing law school 15 years ago, but I had the opportunity of being in a courtroom almost every day while working as a journalist. And so in that position, I was able to see what attorneys did on a daily basis and had a great deal of respect for what they did and how they impacted individuals' lives. I knew one of the first organizations I wanted to join when I started law school was the American Bar Association. I knew that this is an organization that has a tremendous effect both for attorneys in general with education opportunities, but also in terms of opportunities for being advocates for not only the citizens of this country, but also for law students and also for attorneys in general. This is a very important organization. Like Monique, I haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to really experience the ABA on a first-hand level, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Monique, for your opening statements. I think it's a real blessing and an honor to have two non-traditional students as the candidates for the Seventh Circuit. And so I think this is a great opportunity for the voice of a large segment of our law student population, of the 115,000 law students in America, for each of you to be able to speak for and speak to. So let's start with these questions. What vision do each of you have for the Law Student Division in this year to come? And Sandy, since we gave Monique the opening statement first, I'll let you go with this question first. What vision do you have for the Law Student Division?
Well, I think first and foremost is communication and improving that communication between the ABA and the students. You look at just the communication platforms that are out there, and just in doing a peripheral investigation of what the ABA offers to students in educating students, but also reaching out to students, is very limited on social media. I'd like to see that every circuit has its own Facebook page, and that Facebook page is active and providing updates to students on a regular basis. But in addition, I think it would be important to have people in positions representing the ABA at various schools who actively do their jobs reaching out to students and really helping this organization connect with the student body as a whole. I think when you reach out and you get students talking, you get a lot of feedback back. And that's important in really helping cultivate a mission statement for the student division as well. I think a lot of times the leadership in the student division comes up with great ideas, but if you're not having a whole lot of participation coming from the students as a whole, then how good is that if you're coming up with ideas from a very small sector? So improving communication is important, reaching out to students is important, educating students is important as well, and really encouraging students to be a part of the American Bar Association. Because I think if you foster a chance for them to join at an early stage in their careers, they're more likely to continue that membership when they are done with law school and practicing law.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate your comments. Monique, same question to you. What vision do you have for the ABA Law Student Division?
My vision is somewhat similar to Sandra's in that I think a lot of students really aren't aware of what the ABA does in the Law Student Division. Students know the moniker, they know it's the American Bar Association. I know when I started that I was so eager to join and become a member. However, it does dissipate somewhat if you don't know someone who's integrally involved, such as someone who's on a committee, someone who has a leadership position. I was fortunate in that one of the students that I speak to on a regular basis is our 7th Circuit Governor. Now, of course, during this aspect of the campaign, we haven't had communications as such, but just in terms of what's going on, where the meetings are, what's being discussed, what propositions are out there, that's really important. And I don't think that students get enough information disseminated to them in a way that's concise, that they pay attention to it. So unless it's something that's going to hit home, for example, something that immediately would take away a student loan, something that would immediately affect an externship, an internship, something that immediately affects you, that person in school right now, students aren't aware or they're fuzzy about what their participation actually means and if it's important. So to go back to your initial question of vision, communication is key, but I hesitate a bit because you have to, there's a fine line there. Too much communication sometimes is brushed off and not paid attention to. Using social media is an excellent idea, as Sandra intimated, but I also think that you can utilize something such as a town hall or even a monthly encapsulation of what is going on with the ABA and the Law Student Division within that month. If we can capture something in a quick and succinct way for students, that might be a little more amenable to their tastes. So that would be my immediate vision in terms of communication.
Thank you so much, Monique. All right, we'll go to this next question. All right, so how has the Law Student Division been a part of your life, or how have you experienced the ABA in recent or longer history? So let's just go with you first, Monique.
Okay. One of the first things that I did was to decide to make sure that I joined a committee. Initially, I thought about networking, but what I've learned in the last year and a half being in law school is that networking is not just meeting these individuals who are wonderful attorneys, who are connected to the community, but it also gives you an opportunity to learn where there may be a project that you can participate in, or there's something in the community that you can assist with. So, for example, one of the opportunities that came through the Law Student Division is an opportunity to work on projects in patent law. And I was fortunate enough, after volunteering, to be able to work on one of those projects with, it's a law board firm out of San Francisco. The importance of that is I connected with the senior partner there. More importantly, I did research that I otherwise might not have done, which was beneficial not only to this ad hoc group, but to my understanding as a student who's interested in IP, as to what is necessary that I should be looking at in terms of how the decision was made, what law is relevant, how the laws vary in different countries around the world. So my experience has been actually pretty good, considering there's a lot more for me to do with the ABA. But I've utilized not only that opportunity I just explained, but another one has arisen. So for me, it's a chance to meet with someone who has that practice knowledge, to share that knowledge with me, give me an opportunity to research, difficult research, give that feedback to them, and actually help in a committee on a project that they're actually going to present to another committee in the ABA. So I had a positive experience that way. I would say I would like to see more connection between Law Student Division students. I honestly don't know that many personally who participate, but I've heard that people do. So I think that's where I'm lacking and what I would pursue more in this role as the governor.
Great. Thank you so much, Monique. I appreciate it. All right, so Sandy, the same question to you. How has the Law Student Division been a part of your life, or how have you experienced the ABA?
Well, I would say that my experience with the ABA has been primarily through law school. We have a terrific SBA president who remains engaged in ABA policies and keeps us rather informed on the latest from the ABA. But also the school's ABA student representative has also been very active in keeping us informed and engaged on what's playing out on the national policy scale too, so that we are aware not just of issues that we think are more micro to NIU, but that are macro and that are affecting law students everywhere. Issues related to the bar exam and issues related to having loan forgiveness. These are the things that we care about at NIU. I know that the ABA certainly cares about it as well. And so I'm also staying on top of my student magazine there, Fabi. So, and making sure that that you're reading this periodical that is made especially for students. So that's how I stay engaged with the ABA. I'm looking at those links that my local ABA rep and my SBA rep are posting, and also staying engaged too by checking in frequently with the website.
Great. Thank you so much, Sandy, and thank you, Monique. And one thing I want to take a moment to remind our viewers is that both of your resumes and statements of candidacy are available on that website. You can see what year in law school each of our candidates are, and some of the points and priorities that they have previously highlighted. So now that we've done that little commercial break, let's go back to talking about one of the things that the ABA Law Student Division does and does well, and that is policy advocacy. Both of you have mentioned issues that students care about. I want to ask you about two in particular. And if you're not familiar with these, no worries at all. But one of them has had some very recent news. That is the Uniform Bar Exam. So last week, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., became the 21st district in the country to adopt the Uniform Bar Exam. And then this past Monday in San Diego, the ABA's House of Delegates, one of the highest policy-making arms of the ABA, decided to pass and endorse the expeditious adoption of the UBE, encouraging states to do that. And so that's a big deal for a lot of law students. What are your thoughts on the UBE and maybe some next steps going forward? We'll start with you, Monique.
Thank you. In terms of the UBE, I personally think and believe that portability is the primary issue with that. With the economy, the way that it's been, things are a little uncertain, and even when things improve within the economy and opportunities may grow, students don't always know where their job opportunity may be. So in terms of having portability provided by the UBE, it takes away a bit of the stress that's already associated with where am I going to work? Am I going to have to worry about reciprocity? How is that all going to work for me? That's going to be the greatest benefit of it. I also believe that with a standardized test, a couple of things. One, that employers, regardless of whether they're firms or the government, but when they look at candidates, they'll have a standard by which to judge all candidates. It will be consistent. There are those, I'm sure, who would disagree, but I think it would bring some fairness to the situation if we're all looking at the same bar. From the aspect of diversity, which you didn't specifically ask me about, it seems that everything that we do, there are some bars, some tests in terms of diversity. If there is a standard by which each of the candidates is tested, I think something such as diversity would be much more easily garnered state by state, as opposed to the different rules and different regulations and different testing that goes on for those states that aren't involved in UBE.
Thank you so much, Monique. All right, so same question to you, Sandy, about the UBE in particular.
This is important policy that affects every single law student across the country. And I'm happy to hear that the District of Columbia has become the 21st state or entity to adopt the UBE. But why don't we have 50 states adopting the UBE? This is something that I certainly agree with. I think this is great policy. It needs to be implemented for all the reasons that Monique stated, and then some. This is about putting everybody on the same page, whether you graduated from an Ivy League law school or you graduated from Northern Illinois University or from Mercer. It doesn't matter. You know, it's about putting everybody on the same page, and it's also about giving everybody a fair chance at having a career wherever they want in this country. Let's say you graduate from law school and you want to go to a firm in Chicago, but then that firm wants to move you to a state that perhaps doesn't accept your license. Well, that puts you at a disadvantage. So why not put everybody in the same boat, the same opportunities, the same chance to earn that law license, and take the same exam so that we all know that we're performing at the same level?
Thank you so much, Sandy. All right, in that same vein of policy advocacy, another issue that the Law Student Division leadership has worked on for many years, just like the UBE, my predecessors long before me, and long before the current board, is the 305-2 pay credit debate. The idea of those who are working in externships for academic credit also seeking compensation which for some is a conflict and for others is a necessity. And so it's a controversial issue, but would love to know your thoughts about it. We'll start with you, Sandy, and then we'll go to Monique.
So I think it's a two-edged sword, right? It's one of those things where as we as law students know the right answer to this is it depends, right? That's the perfect lawyered answer, is it depends on whether this is good policy or not. Here's what I do know, and I know this firsthand, and that is the amount of money that I am taking out to finance my education and my living expenses while pursuing the education. And, you know, I think if you are under the correct supervision, you have the right supervision, you have the right mentor to guide you along and do a good job, then you should be able to be paid as well for the work that you do. The benefit of being paid is perhaps you're not going to take as much out in student loans. Perhaps you're going to be in a better financial position when you're graduating from college. I know a lot of people who I go to school with every day who are pinching pennies, but they're pursuing this degree because they want to do some good. They want to make a difference. Now, is it bad policy in the sense that, you know, there's a chance that you might do something unethical? I don't know. I'd like to think that everybody who is going to law school took an oath, took a pledge before they even started their classes that they were going to do the right thing. I know that doesn't always necessarily play out, but the opportunity to be paid for the work that you do, not being paid as a lawyer, but being paid as a law student who is on their way to being a lawyer, I think would be good. And it offers a chance for students to not take perhaps as much debt out to finance their rent or their groceries.
Great. Thank you, Sandy. All right, Monique, same quick question about 305-2. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, again, are quite similar to Sandra's. My focus is a bit more on what a law firm or what an employer might think. Whomever is paying that law student has an expectation that they're going to receive quality work from that intern. In turn, if you will, the intern is looking for an opportunity to do their best work. They want the employer to see them and their qualities, their most outstanding qualities, great research, or whatever they put into it, because they want to have a writing example, a writing sample to provide, and they want that experience. I believe those students should be paid for that. I also recognize with this policy there are concerns about from the Department of Labor about concerns for paying or not paying. But I think the bottom line for students is, one, credit is great, but credit does not pay your bills. For students who are paid, they want the opportunity to make sure that not only can they work with the attorneys, get the practical experience that they need to with the attorneys, to show them that perhaps I'm a person that you should hire as an associate, and in turn produce something that they can use with future, as future candidates for opportunities, job opportunities. These same students they want to be recognized for the hard work that they've done. So, as complex as an issue as it is, the reality is that we have students taking out huge amounts of loans who want to be paid, who also want the practical knowledge that they need. And the employers want the best candidates they can possibly have, regardless of the firm, regardless of the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. I appreciate both of your answers on those complex policy issues, and those are some of the caliber items that we deal with. But that's just one element of the work that our division does. Another element is, as both of you have touched on, is membership, right? We are an association, a club, so to speak, a club with a huge membership potential, 115,000 members, and a market share that's about half that. We're at 63,000 members. So we still have a ways to go, but we've doubled that since this time last year, where we were at 33,000 members, and a lot of that is due to free membership. But with free membership comes a loss in revenue, and we have unfortunately had to look at different ways to be smart about our expenses. These online Q&As are one way. Instead of flying out all of our team, and then also the costs that candidates have to incur to fly out to give speeches. So using technology is definitely one smart tool that we're using. What are other ways that you think that we can affect or increase member benefits? And again, as you, some of you or both of you have mentioned, our website. We have a podcast that's featured there. We have a blog that is featured. A Quimby is something that is available to all law students for 6 months for free. What are other membership benefits or ways that we can improve membership benefits for our currently 63,000 law student ABA members? We'll start with you, Monique.
It's interesting that you mentioned Quimby, because I do recall when that I was taking evidence last term, and that became available. That was a huge hit for a lot of students. And the fact that it was without a cost associated with it, in addition to the student membership not having a cost associated with it. So moving forward, I don't have a specific organization in mind or business entity, but I think that we could utilize that sort of model that's used for Quimby. What things are important to students? What things are out there that students would be interested in? Is it something that they could wear? Is it some sort of transportation? Is it some sort of specific item? So perhaps we could work with a business or an entity or organization that we could coordinate something that students would be interested in and feel that they need, and create some sort of a relationship with that organization in whatever way that's appropriate, following guidelines of the ABA, of course. But to try to engage the students with something that they like, they're interested in, and what, while still piquing their interest in the ABA and keeping them engaged. That, in addition to social media, I think are the probably best ways to maintain a relationship with the students. Students are so busy, as you well know, and everyone wants an instant fix. So anything that's going to benefit a student in terms of what makes their life more comfortable at school, at home, while they're in law school, those are companies that we might want to partner with to come up with some ideas of how we can keep those students engaged in the ABA. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. I appreciate it. Sandy, same question to you about membership benefits.
All right. Well, I think what the ABA has done in the last year under the student leadership, including yourself, Fabi, has been fantastic, right? It's been a great jump start. So how do we keep the momentum going? And I think you do it by doing things like we have mentioned before, which is you do the social media, you also continue on with Quimby. I know there's some controversy regarding the free membership, but frankly, I think it's fantastic. I think that was a really smart move. Perhaps you charge for those individual nuanced fields that people are interested in, and that's fine as well. Quimby is a great thing to have. It's a great tool that hopefully a lot of students are utilizing. Keep that going. But what are students interested in? Students are interested in A, passing their classes, right? And B, they're interested in passing the bar. They want a career in the law. So how do we focus on those two things, right? Passing your class, passing the bar. And perhaps you offer more tips, perhaps have these social chats involved with professors and get maybe a crosstalk going so that they can offer their advice hands-on. This is how you write a great exam answer, all right? These are the things you need to know. So that students are not just relying on the Barbarys and the Kaplans of the world to get themselves through, but perhaps really relying on the experts that the ABA has in its membership. so that the members could say, let's show these law students what they need to know and how to be terrific lawyers. Or perhaps let's focus on your writing. How do you write a better memo for the attorney you're working for? There was a great article in the latest edition of Student Lawyer talking about writing a good memo, and that was great. That's the type of stuff that students really want to know, students really want to learn about. The other thing is, you know, passing the bar exam. Moving forward, how do we get you to passing the bar exam? So perhaps something a little more nuanced, helping students with that. But then also taking advantage of, you know, and I hate the idea of capitalizing on breaking news events, but far too often we see the law playing out during breaking news events, whether it's news from the Supreme Court or it's news about a newsworthy event that's controversial, but perhaps having an opportunity to learn at that point, maybe have a law professor come in, talk on behalf of the ABA, talk with the ABA students, so that you have maybe a Google Hangout, and so that you're taking that opportunity that's playing out on the national scale and giving students an opportunity to learn from it.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Monique, for both of those great answers. You know, one thing that we are moving towards is a premium model that maybe one or both of you have heard about. So in addition to the freeness, the freemium that everybody is able to experience, kind of like you know, Amazon or Netflix or Pandora, for $25, there will be the opportunity starting this summer to pay for this premium membership, which will unlock many more types of membership benefits. And so that is something that one or both of you, depending on how the election turns out, will be able to work on. And you know, I want to keep an eye on the time. We're at 40 minutes into the hour, so I just have two more questions for you, and if there's anybody out there in the audience that has questions, please add them to the chat and we will ask. So as I mentioned, our board is made up of 23 individuals, 8 national officers, 15 circuit governors. It's a very large board, and being on this national scale, there are a lot of issues that we deal with, a lot of collaborative issues that need our attention, and being nimble, being a communication, which is an issue that both of you have talked about, and being effective is something that in a board of 23 law students, nonetheless, who are motivated and have ideas and are leaders, requires a lot of leadership skills and group dynamic skills and interpersonal relationship skills. So that's my question to both of you. What are your strengths as a leader? What are the talents that you will bring to our national board? And I'll start with you, Sandy.
Okay. You know what? I think some of my biggest strengths are not only being friendly and open, but being direct as well. I think there's a way of conveying what you mean and doing it in a way that is respectful and also inclusive and invites ideas. And I think one of the things that I had said when I first applied for this was, it's about being friendly, it's about being approachable, and it's about being part of a team. And in my personal experience of working on various boards while residing in Peoria, Illinois, that environment of teamwork can do such good work. And I've seen situations where, you know, there's no I in team, but there's definitely an M and an E, you know, and that doesn't work well. So for me, I think the biggest strengths that I can offer is being friendly, being approachable, but also being willing to be that worker bee and also being willing to help when somebody says, I need help, or being that person who says, let's get some ideas and let's get this ball rolling. It's about being a positive leader, and I think that is something that the ABA needs, is a positive leader, positive leaders, plural, to keep the momentum going.
Thank you, Sandy. Same question to you, Monique, about leadership strengths that you bring to the board.
Thank you. I would bring, or say to you that I bring enthusiasm, energy. I'm very tenacious, very diligent, but I think one of the strongest characteristics of a leader is one who recognizes when to stand up, when to speak, when to bring an idea or a concern to the fore, but even more importantly, how to sit back and to be an active listener. Because if you're going to work on a team, you have to be willing to listen to others, you have to be willing to collaborate, but as Sandy intimated, you also need to be able to communicate yourself in such a way that you are direct but respectful, but you want to keep the getting things done. So I think that if you bear in mind that we're probably under time constraints in this sort of position, as well as the other members of the board, you need to work well under pressure. So if you can maintain your professionalism, your high energy level, your attentiveness to detail and to people and their ideas, as well as your own, and to be able to bring those things together in such a way that you are conducting yourself always in a manner of professionalism and transparency while trying to be effective, you're going to be a phenomenal leader. And again, a leader is merely a part of the team. The best leaders that I know, the best mentors that I have, are those that recognize when to step forward and when to step back and to listen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monique and Brandy, for your answers on that. So important to have the perspectives you both articulated in dealing with any team, but especially one that is as high-powered as you can imagine a team of lawyer leaders or future lawyer leaders can be. My last question for you is something that we every year, not just this year and in the years to come, we will be challenged with. You know, we have 205 law schools that are accredited by the ABA. That's 205 SBA presidents potentially. Some schools don't have SBA presidents, and that's 205 ABA representatives for schools that have ABA representatives. They're all allowed to, but not always. They're not always chosen. So that's 410 people to connect with, and that's just 2 people of that population. And as I mentioned, there's 115,000 law students in the country. So how can the Law Student Division have a stronger presence in the law schools when we just have that very small percentage involved both in our board and in the law school level? Let's start with you, Monique.
I'll go back to something that I mentioned just a moment ago, in that we need to maintain our professionalism as an organization. I've been impressed with what I've seen since I joined the ABA as a 1L, and even more so in the last 8 to 12 months. So I would say, in order to improve that, we need to make sure that we maintain good and solid relationships with our SBA presidents and reps. And by the way, our SBA president and ABA rep, John Marshall, are simply phenomenal. They really are, and they're very accessible and approachable. But even beyond that, I would like to, if possible, as a 7th Circuit governor, take the opportunity to reach out to those other schools that are members of the circuit, to meet those students, those SBA presidents, those reps, in order to connect so that we can bring our ideas together. Social media is great, but there is something to be said for meeting one another face to face, even if that's only once a year or twice a year. I think that that's something that can help at least begin to bridge the gap. We won't solve everything, but I think if we can come together, bring our ideas together about what each group is facing and what they see in their own environment, that perhaps we can use each other as sounding boards to help improve our circumstances at our respective schools so that we can bring more people on board to the Law Students Division and get them involved and engaged with the ABA so that they understand more than the great qualities of coming in, and it's not, you're not being charged to come in and you have all these wonderful benefits, but to go that next step and to become involved so that the ABA becomes a part of them and a part of their future careers. And I think if we can bring some continuity not only within our schools but also bridging the gap with the other schools in our circuit, that will help to at least increase somewhat the numbers. At the very least, it will expand the knowledge to students in a larger fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. I appreciate it. All right, and same question to you, Sandy. I forgot to unmute myself there for a second. All right, Sandy, same question to you. How can we better engage law schools or have a stronger presence in them?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts on that. One, it depends on the quality of the SBA leader and also the ABA leader. And Monique mentioned that she has the advantage of having two very great leaders at John Marshall, and I would certainly make that concurrence with regards to Northern Illinois University. As I mentioned earlier, we have two fantastic leaders who are our ABA rep and our SBA rep. And they do their job in terms of reaching out to the student body and communicating with students about the ABA. But how do you improve on that? Well, I know I was introduced to the ABA through a organization fair at the law school when I was a 1L. So perhaps you get an introduction to the ABA a little bit earlier, maybe during orientation. Maybe the ABA sponsors one of the breakfasts for the incoming 1Ls. And that way they get a little introduction to the ABA that way. So that you're getting them right as they're joining law school and they have an understanding of what the ABA is instead of like 3 weeks into law school when they're having the organization fair. That's one thought. The other thought is you look at the concentration of law schools, say in Chicago, and there's a real opportunity to have folks brought in, have panel discussions where the law students are invited to come in as a whole, say the entire Chicago community or the entire Milwaukee community or the entire Indianapolis community, so that you're having that discussion not just as a student of Northern Illinois University and John Marshall University, but you're having discussions as a student body community, right? So that it's not just about your school, my school, it's about all of us as regional law students experiencing everything at the same time. So I think there are ways to improve the membership, but social media is just a tip of the iceberg. You do have to make that face-to-face connection with students and really encourage them to join and be a part of this great organization.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. All right. Well, looking at our time, we only have 9 minutes left in this Q&A. I don't see any questions from our audience, but I do want to just take a moment to thank you both for your excellent answers, for your thoughtfulness, and for taking this opportunity so seriously. I know that however the decision goes, the election goes, that the Seventh Circuit will be in truly professional and strong hands. So I look forward to welcoming either of you to our board. So as we wrap up, I will allow you to do some closing comments, closing statements for the voters out there. And I want to remind the SBA presidents and ABA reps who do get a vote in this election that this Q&A will be available not just on our website but on our social media platforms. So I will let we let who start with our opening? Now I forget.
I
Monique did.
That's
Yes.
right, Monique. All right, so Monica, I'll let you then go first in this case, and then you can have the last word, Sandy. Okay? So go ahead, Monique.
Okay. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. However things work out, this has been just really good in terms of me thinking about why I am part of the ABA. And it does remind you what your focus was and why you were interested in becoming an attorney in the first place. But succinctly, I would like to say I'm eager to serve the constituency of the 7th Circuit. I'm an enthusiastic, honest person who is eager, very eager to collaborate and to work with the team to come up with the ideas, proposals that students have and that I might have, to bring them to the fore and to see how we can improve what is already a great organization and make it just that much better. I would love to hear the thoughts and ideas of other students, and I'm eager just to be a part of the organization. It's an honor, and I look forward to increasing my knowledge about the ABA, meeting other students involved in the Law Student Division, as well as others. And again, I thank you for this opportunity, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. I appreciate it. And Sandy, your closing thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much. When I think about why I applied for this position, I think of several things. I think about the fact that it would be a tremendous and humble honor to represent the students of Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. In that respect, it's a very important job to do what you do as a 7th Circuit governor, and that is to collect ideas, to communicate with schools, to communicate with other students. And to be able to do that, you have to be obviously service-minded, but you also need to be friendly, approachable, and be willing to be a part of a team, a bigger team. The ABA has grown tremendously with its student division in the last year. It's about picking the right leader to carry that momentum forward. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great weekend. And Monique, it was great getting to know you. You too, Fabi.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate both of you, your candor, your great answers, and I look forward to continuing to seeing both of you in leadership through the many opportunities. Liaison applications for you and for all our listeners out there are due on March 15th. That's another opportunity. Of course, we have national officer elections that are going on now, but new applications for new positions on the national board are going to be open soon, and those are available until June before the annual meeting in San Francisco. So I am excited and grateful for both of you, and with that, have a wonderful rest of your day, and happy voting, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.